Hey everybody, welcome back to Board Game Blender. My name is Zee Garcia. Today we're going to be keeping it real. We're going to be talking about games that are set in real world places, based on real world events, about real people. And I am a big fan of games that utilize these things. Obviously, I'm one for escapism as much as the next guy or gal, and I do enjoy games which take me to a fantastical setting, be it sci-fi or fantasy or what have you. But I also find that a world in a game set around the real place or a real time is very captivating and can add a little bit of weight and drama to a game. I find it to be perhaps a little more engrossing. You know, the what if I was in this time period and could actually make these changes to history. But on the other hand, it's true that oftentimes I find some of these themes overused and a little dry, to be honest. And of course, this is all in my opinion. But I do wish that more different events in history were explored in board games as opposed to, it would seem, a lot of the same ones. And a lot of the same places as well. So hopefully today we're going to show you a couple of different games that perhaps you're not familiar with, perhaps you've forgotten about, and maybe we will re-spark some love for history and for real-world settings. So let's kick it off.
Howdy folks, Rebecca and Hunter here for Player Showdown, and today we want to talk to you about Lorenzo il Magnifico.
Look at this box. Doesn't that just make you want to play a game? But there is a story behind this game. It's based on a person, a real person named Lorenzo de' Medici. And I went deep in research to bring you some fun facts about Lorenzo de' Medici.
Let me see this. Lorenzo de' Medici, January 1449 to April 1492, was an Italian statesman and de facto ruler of the Florentine Republic, who was the most powerful and enthusiastic patron of the Renaissance. Also known as Lorenzo the Magnificent, aka Lorenzo il Magnifico, by the contemporary Florentines. He was a magnate, diplomat, politician, and patron of scholars, artists, and poets. He is well known for his contribution to the art world by sponsoring artists such as Botticelli and Michelangelo. His life coincided with the mature phase of Italian Renaissance, and his death coincided with the end of the Golden Age of Florence.
That sounds really exciting, but we're not going to talk about that. We're going to talk about this game, which has nothing really to do with any of that. Here is Lorenzo Magnifico in under 1 minute. You roll dice. These dice, this is a really good roll, correspond to the power of your workers. You have a orange worker, a white worker, and a black worker. And you also have a neutral, not very good worker. Use these workers to buy territories and buildings and characters and ventures. You put those on your board. The more ventures you get, the more victory points you get at the end. Put your buildings here, your little characters go on this side, and your ventures go here. You score points by having lots of territories, lots of characters. Your ventures have in-game scoring at the bottom, and you have military strength over here, which I didn't talk about, but it's exciting too. And you also get points for all your leftover junk that you don't spend. There's Lorenzo Magnifico in less than 1 minute. I also want to add, there's faith. You have faith or bad things happen. And the two-player variant is simply covering up spaces on the board. And over here, there's more things that are covered up. There it is. Lorenzo, an awesome game. Magnifico. Well, there you have it. There is Lorenzo il Magnifico. And it is pretty magnifico. I enjoy this game. This is I would call it maybe mid to heavyweight Euro, somewhere in there. Maybe a little more than midweight Euro. I like several things about this. I like the fact that the dice are community dice, so if there's a bad roll, everyone suffers.
Yeah.
If there's a good roll, everyone does great. There's ways to modify those dice through the cards and through the servants, like I said. So there's mitigation there, so if you get some bad rolls, you can work with that. But again, it takes kind of the luck out of it because everyone's dealing with kind of the same thing.
Yeah, exactly. That's one thing that I really like because I'm not usually huge about relying upon the dice for choosing actions, but in this there's so many different options and things that you can do. And it's not like you have bad choices at the lower levels either. It seems like this is a good card, this is a better card, this is a better card, but nothing is really bad.
Right.
And I really enjoy that. And I like the tension also through the several stages where you have to go through and get a certain amount of what are the religious or points or whatever they call it, faith. I think it was faith or something.
Faith,
yeah,
yes,
faith.
it's faith, yes.
So that you don't have these horrible detriments happen to you. So you have to pay attention to that at every stage of the game while you're making all these other great decisions. So I really enjoy that, and I think that the visual aids and stuff are very intuitive, and once you learn the rules to the game, it's really easy to pop back and say, oh, I remember what we need to do because the symbols are there for you. Very nice.
Yeah, this is a really great, solid Euro game. This gives me kind of a feel of like maybe viticulture level-ish, maybe somewhere in there, but it also, you can take this for whether it's worth, it feels like a Feld game to me. It's got that Feld feel to it.
There's a lot going on.
Where there's a lot going on, but it's once you play, it's easy to grasp, and there's many different ways that you can win the game. You can focus in on faith. You can build a good engine to start off. You can work on the in-game stuff. There's just so many different ways that you can play this game. You're not railroaded into one play style.
Yeah, and it also plays pretty quickly. I really like the fact that we can crack this out in an hour.
Yeah, maybe a little more, but yeah, about an hour.
Yeah. So definitely check out Lorenzo il Magnifico. So thank you so much.
Non più tra I farfalloni amoroso, notte giorno di torno girano, delle belle turbando al riposo, Narcisetto a Tocino.
The year is 1888. The place is London. Your task? To solve 10 different cases. One at a time, of course. To do so, you'll have to visit different places in London, talk to a lot of people, and don't forget to check the newspaper once in a while. When you think you can solve the case, you'll report to the person who will probably tell you how you could have done it more efficiently. Hello everybody, my name is Robert and I'm the Co-op Gamer. And today I want to talk to you about Sherlock Holmes Consulting Detective. Now I'm very well aware of the fact that Sherlock Holmes is a fictional character. However, the city of London is a very real place. And when I'm playing this game, I'm really feeling like I'm visiting different places in London. Let's take a quick look at how you play the game. The game comes with a rulebook, a map of London, the London directory, 10 casebooks, and 10 newspapers. But you'll also want to use a pen and paper to make some notes of your discoveries. When you start a case, you read the introduction text out loud, and the starting player or lead investigator for that round decides where to go. The scene of the crime might be a good place to start your investigation. So, for example, if the crime is being committed at the Apollo Theatre, the first thing you do is check the London directory to see where you can find this location. You see that the Apollo Theatre is located at number 19 Northwest. If you want, you can search for the number 19 in the northwest section of the map. In some cases this might be useful to see if someone is close enough to the location to have committed the crime. Then you check for number 19 in the northwest section of the casebook. You read this text out loud and make some notes of your discoveries. After that, the next player becomes the lead investigator and chooses a place to go to, and so on. This continues until you agree you have enough information to solve the case. At that point, you'll answer the questions at the end of the casebook. Part 1 questions are directly linked to the case, and Part 2 are bonus questions about other things to which you might have found the answer while investigating. Once you have answered all the questions, you calculate your score and check to see if you've beaten Holmes, who always scores 100 points. Now, I haven't covered newspapers yet, but I really love how they work. You can check the available newspapers at any time during the game. The newspapers that are available to you are the one from the current case and all of the newspapers that came before that. So it might be possible that you can find information for your current investigation in an old newspaper. At this point I've played the first 3 cases, and I can tell you I didn't even come close to beating Holmes. My highest score was 55 points. Now the box says the game plays up to 8 players, but I would recommend it as a 2-player or maybe even solitaire experience. And that's what it is. It's more of an experience than it is a game. There's no clear end to the game, since it's up to you to decide when you've got enough information. And that's something you'll have to get used to. I really like this game, although I don't care much about the scoring. I don't think I'll be able to beat Holmes anyway. But if you have successfully beaten Holmes, let me know in the comments. That's it for me. I hope to see you next time and continue to cooperate.
Hello folks, Mark here, and welcome to Thinking Inside the Box. In this series, I'm focusing on components, inserts, storage solutions, and games that already do both really well. This particular theme for Blender was a bit of a challenge for me. I don't really play many historical or real games, as I prefer to escape into some crazy sci-fi or fantasy world. But I recently received a copy of Witches of the Revolution. Perhaps a bit of a historical stretch, but let's take a closer look. Witches of the Revolution is brought to you from Atlas Games for 1 to 4 players. Game runs about 30 to 60 minutes and is for ages 13 and up. George Washington, Paul Revere, Alexander Hamilton, we know all these names of these heroes, but there are others who fought for the cause of liberty, secret cabals in a hidden war that historians never talk about. These witches of the Revolution led the occult forces of this world and the next against the tyranny of King George III. In Witches of the Revolution, your deck is a coven of witches that you lead against foes on a desperate quest for freedom. Unique deck building rules allow you to recruit and hone your forces even as your enemy reveals itself. Your fellow players are your allies. Teamwork is the key, but resources are limited, so every choice must be made with care. And time is the ultimate constraint. As the moon wanes, your power weakens, and the crushing weight of tyranny grows. Can you throw off the British yoke before it's too late? The colonies of the Americas were a haven for the prosecuted, but those who would have freedom must fight for it. Okay, yes, this is a unique deck builder that you really should check out, but we are here to see how this game gets organized. You know, many publishers are starting to make a real effort to have molded solutions so you don't need to run out and buy a third-party insert. Atlas Games has made a real valiant effort here. All the event cards have individual slots and are organized by their glyph symbols. 2 deep pockets hold all the relic, blessing, recruit, and objective cards. And across the top, they have given slots for each of the token sets. All the tokens and cards have easy access finger slots to retrieve all the contents. All of this allows quick and easy setup of the game. So many games have minimalist inserts, so when I run across a publisher that actually took the time to design something with organization in mind, they deserve a big shout out. So big kudos to Atlas Games and to publishers who take the time to do something a little better or more innovative. I have a feeling we're going to see more attention to this in the future. So give Witches of the Revolution a closer look. It has some unique things going for it, and with some very stylistic artwork. Alright folks, thanks for watching, happy organizing, and until next time, we'll see you at the table. Hey, who turned out the lights?
Who moves there in the dark of night, on cobbled stones of fear, to bring an end to troubled life? You know it. He is here. The frolic woman has no choice. He's coming. Do not flee. All the good can't apprehend him. He's cunning, and he's free. Gather all the good you have, and do more than your best. For after 4 nights, he is gone, and you will never rest. He leaves a trail of bloody crumbs. The alleys are his friend. Brains and smart deduction will make this nightmare end.
Hi, I'm Daniele and this is Play Cool. Today we are taking a look at City of Spies, Stadt der Spione. It gives you the same chaos you have in programmable movement, but with a feeling of control sometimes, and it's really thematic what it does. So let's take a look at it. You have locations in the city of Estoril. You take 6 out of 8 that are available for variability, and you take 4 objectives out of many that are available. And you then deploy your spies on the board during the round, just secretly on the board, marking them with your cubes, and then the adversaries, the opponents, will do the same. But why will you do that? Because in the city there are spies that are located in several 6 actually locations, and you try to take them to your side or recover them and however get them in your team, and you do that deploying your spies on the board. And then at the end of the round, only at the end of the round, when all agents secretly have been deployed by the 2 to 4 players, then you can see what happens and see who won that agent in that spot. And after 4 rounds of this, you will count the points in your hand that are given by the medals that are below in this card, and you will count who reached most of the objectives, for example, who has the most English spies in his hand, and you will count also how many agents you have recovered on the board in general, and that counts 1 point each. So you will count all these points and you will see who wins. The fun is really evident in this game, but let's go to the pros and cons. Okay, let's start from the cons. The components are okay. I like these tiles, they're thick and they're very thematic with the names of Dusko Popov or other real agents that have lived there, or Jan Fleming and writers that write about those things. But some components are really lacky, and these white cubes should mark the round, and that's fine, but it should also, for example, mark on the board some special actions that are being executed. Not good. You can make your own component if you have time, like I did, and make it a little more evident and nice, or you can stay with the cubes. There are, however, a second aspect of this, and this is the second con, and this is already too much into the game to ignore, that is the clarity of the board. This board, I like the pictures, but they make the board so busy. The number here are in the center and they are not so visible because of all the pictures, and above all you have also a second number on each of the spot on the location, and it makes this board a little too busy with numbers. I think they should have found a way to make symbols out of it, or create a more evident way to make it visible at a first glance. The pros. It plays very well with 2. I played mostly with 2. I would like to play it more also with more players, but I play mostly with my wife and we have fun. I think this game's not always like Colt Express plays okay with 2, but not really good. This gives you much more of a spy feeling even with 2, and I like it. So that's a pro for me. The second pro, this is an easy and fun game. Too many games come out that are more and more complex, but there are always these games you can rely on for a game night where you don't have that geeky friend coming to your house to play that 3-hour game. You want a simple game and you want to have fun. This is a good choice. Don't choose those many card games that don't mean anything and they are random. If you want some random things, you can find them here, but this is filled with theme. It's really a good option for every night you want to play a board game with anyone. Have fun!
The hot new racing game these days appears to be Downforce, put out by Restoration Games, and it, just like every other Restoration Games production, is based on an older design that's been modernized. In this one, a game designed originally by Wolfgang Kramer, all the players are going to be bidding on vehicles, Formula One cars, and then they are going to be playing cards to advance all of the vehicles on the track. You'll own some of them, and you'll also be putting bets on some of them when you think that they'll be coming in first in the race. And so you'll get points, money for both of those things. Your cards coming in, your vehicles coming in early does not necessarily guarantee you a win. Now, this game, the obvious parent game to it is a game called Top Race, put out in 1996. It is a game based on Top Race, but it gets a little muddier than that. There's another game that it often gets compared to because they are very similar. They're both card-driven racing games, and that one is Ave Caesar. Ave Caesar came out in 1989, and that's about 7 years before Top Race came out, and it uses a very similar set of mechanisms. The board is very similar with choke points and places where you could force other riders or vehicles or whatever it may be in that game behind the one you moved to come to a full stop because it cannot move past you and waste some of those movement points. But it gets a little trickier than that because you see Top Race is actually based on games that are in turn older than Ave Caesar. The next step back would be Niki Lauda's Formula One, which came out in 1980. That's a full 9 years before Ave Caesar first came out. And then going back further, then we have Tempo, which came out in 1974. Now, Tempo is a game that utilizes very similar mechanisms to Downforce from 2017, but it's really an abstract game. It had no theme, and it is, in fact, Wolfgang Kramer's very first published game, which I thought was very interesting when I found that out as I was doing the research to talk about Downforce. Because it's a game that has quite literally gone from the very early days of Wolfgang Kramer as a designer and worked its way through many iterations to be, as of the day that Downforce came out, the very newest game from Wolfgang Kramer, with some help and development, of course, from the workers, from the people at Restoration Games. I thought that was really interesting, and so I just wanted to point out sort of that long history to show you this trajectory, this cyclical, influential movement that a game can have upon itself and upon other games in its sphere. We have a few other games that do very similar things as well, such as a game by Friedman Fries called Fast Flowing Forest Fellers. And in this one, a lot like in Ave Caesar, each player is going to have their own deck of cards and use that deck of cards by playing those cards and using the number on them to move around a track, a very modular track in Fast Flowing Forest Fellers. In Downforce, there is no player deck. There is a central deck that has been divvied out among the players at the beginning, and you will use that information to figure out what you want to bid on, what you want to go strong with, who to bet on as the race is actually progressing. That is Downforce, a game that can be traced directly back to Top Race, but really all the way back through several other games as well, and in games from other publishers, other designers, all the way back to the very first game that came out from famed designer Wolfgang Kramer, and that is Tempo, that came out in '74. So I hope you'll check out Downforce. It's a game with a lot of pedigree, but one that's been streamlined to a beautiful simplicity, one that is immediately engaging, but you can tell that a lot of thought and care has gone into it and is packed right in there. It comes with the fun built right in. So check this one out, and I'll see you next time.
Ooh, shiny new game. I bet Slaven would like this very much. Let's see if he's home.
Lift it. Lift it. He says I need to lift it. Oh, I will. Every day I'm lifted. 355, 356, 357, 358, 59. Hello?
Hey man, what are you doing?
Oh, nothing. Browsing the internet.
I have this game over here.
Yeah? Which game?
It's called Tobago. You wanna go on adventure with me?
I'm ready.
Hello everybody and welcome to the life of a board gamer. Today we are going to take you on a wild adventure on the island of Tobago. On the island of Tobago, first of all, you will have a map that is comprised out of 3 parts, just like this one, and this one, and this one. Of course, they are double-sided, so let me just show you. Because they are double-sided, and when you put them together, you will most likely get a random map that you never played before on it. And when you put all the map together, you will get these little connectors to hold everything in place. In this game are cute little huts that will be put randomly on the map. I don't know if you can see them. Also, you will get some palm trees, so you have these as focus of your search, and you will get some cool little statues represented by these little thingies that even feel kind of like stone, and those will show you where these amulets will appear on the side of the shore on the map. You will look for a treasure in these cards. So, for example, this card will give you 6 treasure when you find it, and of course there's also this one that gives you no treasure. You will need cards that will tell you what location the item is probably at. Like, for example, this one will tell you that it's not 2 spaces away from the hut that is randomly put on a board, or maybe this one that will tell you it's somewhere on the mountains, if I'm not mistaken. And like, I don't know, this one tells you it's 2 spaces away from the tree. Of course, all that you need to mark with tokens that you will get in 4 different colors. You will get blue, green, yellow, red tokens, and of course with these tokens it comes a car that is in each color and each player color. So can I have a car, please? Okay, so let's try this again. These come with 4 different, not 1, cars that are represented in each color. And with this you will drive all around the island in a search for a treasure. And of course all that would be pointless if you don't have the rule books like in every game so far. I wonder what's inside. Oh, a D6? But what does it mean?
Hey everybody, for today's Quirky Game I wanted to take a look at the downfall of Pompeii here. A game in which you are of course in Pompeii and Mount Vesuvius has just erupted and you are attempting to have your people flee from the city. However, that's only the second half of the game. In the first half of the game, you are doing very different things. You are going to be playing cards to populate the city. And then at some point when the correct cards are drawn, the gameplay radically switches to a race, sort of, to basically an escape from the city as the lava starts to flow and starts to cover up the city, cover up the exits from the city, and so on. The game is quirky for that reason, for the fact that it has two very distinct halves, but also for the theme and sort of the way it tackles a theme. Is a very strange thing. The first half is a fairly traditional game as far as gameplay goes. You have a nice big board, which, as you'll notice, has a big hole in it, and you are going to be populating the board with your little characters, little cylinders, wooden cylinders, and to do that, you'll be utilizing these cards here. And the cards have different colors, different numbers, but among these cards, of course, are a few that are not so good. They say Omen on them, and with these, the second stage will be triggered. And so during the first half, you are simply adding characters to the board. For the second half, you'll be using the bag here that is filled with tiles, and these will be drawn and placed on the board in specific spaces to represent the flowing lava that starts to cover up the city. And the reason I say it's got a weird vibe for the second half is because you are going to be building up this volcano, which you do at the beginning of the game. The volcano sits in that hole you spotted on the board, and as you cover up your opponent's pieces, you throw them into this volcano on the board, usually accompanied by cackling. And it's a bizarre thing when you think about it, right? I mean, it's a game that has a pretty serious theme. You are in the second half of the game attempting to, for lack of a better way to put it, push lava towards other people so it doesn't come towards you. And then sort of, you're trying to get more of your people out than anyone else. It's the kind of game that perhaps today would have been made into a cooperative game, but when it came out, I don't think co-ops were particularly popular yet, if really regarded as a genre for grown-ups at all. And so this is what we got. It's a very interesting game. I do enjoy it. I love the idea of one half of the game directly, working with the other second half of the game. What you do in the first one influences and impacts what happens in the second. And I like it. It's sort of a family weight game. It's not very complicated. It's really interesting. And it's one that not too long ago was reprinted in a different box. The one I have here is an older Mayfair printing. Has the Amigo logo on it as well. But the new one is, I believe, a smaller box than this. I like my version of it, though, very much. And I would recommend it if you're looking for a game that's both historically themed, but treats that theme in a strange way, in a, like I said, almost a morbid kind of way. And again, this was so very long ago that I think they get away with that, right? Then I think this is a good one. And if you enjoy Euro-style games, then this is also a good one for you. So look into it. That is The Downfall of Pompeii from the same designer as Carcassonne, but in this one, you're being even more mean. Look into it.
Hello, friends of the Blend, and welcome back to Retro Board Game Corner. The title of today's show, It's So Real. Back on North American television in the 1970s, a man by the name of the Amazing Kreskin wowed audiences with his mental capabilities. Well, here we have Kreskin's ESP, published in 1967 by Milton Bradley. This is a game that tests your extrasensory perception, or ESP. Let me set this up and show you how it works. So this is everything that you get in the game box. Now, in this game, you can play it 7 different ways, but I'm only going to show you 2 ways to play. Now, the first way is by using these cards that have all these symbols on it, and these cards that have all these colors on it. Now, one person is going to sit behind this screen, and everybody else is going to have a little score sheet, and they're going to do 25 of the cards, whether they be just the symbols or just the colors. So the person will sit behind the screen and flip over the first card and think about that color while the other people try to guess what color it is. Or if you're doing the symbols, try to guess the symbols. And then you, after all 25 are over, you have to mark the number of correct, and there's a chart that shows you how good your ESP power is. Now the second way to play is using this right here that they call the mystery pendulum. Now Kruskin believed in something called psychosonics, and he simply states the means sounds of the mind. It's where our subconscious mind, which holds much more power than we are aware of, expresses itself through this pendulum. So by asking yes and no questions and using this chart, this pendulum will actually swing either no or yes. And if it spins in a circle like that, that means I don't know. Now believe me when I tell you that I have had some strange dealings with this as I'm doing that part of the game. So I wouldn't really consider this a game. I consider this kind of like a party game. Invite a bunch of people over, have fun with the mini games, see who has the best ESP. And for my favorite part of the whole entire game is definitely that mystery pendulum. Well, that's all the time I have for now. May your rolls be high. Wait a minute. Please, don't hypnotize me. No, what are you doing? I am sorry, Monopoly. You are the world's greatest game.
That's going to do it for us, everybody, on this episode. A big thanks to all my contributors, of course. A big thanks to you. If you'd like to be involved in Board Game Blender, contact me, and maybe on the next episode, we'll see your segment. As always, thank you, and hey, stay a friend of the blend. I'll see you next time.